Admiral Alara Voss stood unflinching in the center of the Galactic Council's grand chamber, a solitary human figure surrounded by the towering representatives of 200 alien civilizations. The massive amphitheater stretched upward in concentric rings, each tier filled with beings that had mastered interstellar travel millennia before humans had discovered fire. Holographic displays projected her image across the chamber, magnifying every muscle twitch, every bead of sweat that might betray weakness. Behind her, Earth's fate hung projected in the void, a blue marble suspended in darkness. "The Council has deliberated," announced High Arbiter Nox Thalim, the ancient Voidborn whose crystalline form shimmered with cosmic energy. "Humanity's expansion into the Orion Spur violates Statute 7329 of the Galactic Compact. The evidence of territorial infringement is irrefutable." Murmurs rippled through the chamber as Ambassador Drex of the Cassiopeian sovereignty rose from his seat, mandibles clicking in obvious satisfaction. "Furthermore," Nox Thalim continued, "humanity's development of quantum folding technology without Council approval represents a Class 1 violation of controlled knowledge proliferation." Admiral Voss remained motionless, though her mind raced. The Earth Defense Fleet was outnumbered 1,000 to 1. The diplomatic team had assured her this hearing was merely a formality. The judgment is thus rendered. Earth will surrender its quantum folding research. A resource extraction tax of 40% will be levied on all human colonies. The Sol system will host a permanent Council oversight garrison. All military vessels exceeding Threshold 3 capabilities will be decommissioned. The chamber erupted in approving clicks, whistles and rumbles. "You speak of sanctions," Admiral Voss finally said, her voice cutting through the noise with unexpected clarity. "But what you propose is subjugation." The chamber fell silent. No representative had interrupted a council judgment in over 6,000 cycles. "Humanity acknowledges your judgment," she continued, activating a small device on her wrist, "and rejects it entirely." A holographic display materialized above her palm, coordinates appearing in rapid succession. "What is the meaning of this?" demanded the Arbiter. "The locations of 17 previously undiscovered Elder artifacts we've secured throughout the galaxy," Voss replied, "including the Nexus key your civilizations have sought for millennia." The chamber exploded into chaos. "Humanity came prepared for this farce of a trial," Voss declared. "Your sanctions are noted. Our response will be war." As she spoke, across the galaxy, 300 stealth vessels simultaneously dropped their quantum masks, revealing a human armada that had been hiding in plain sight for years. Back on Earth, Director Marcus Reeves watched the proceedings from the Strategic Command Center, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The assembled military and political leaders held their breath as Admiral Voss delivered humanity's declaration. "Transmission successful," reported the communications officer. "All fleet commanders confirm Operation Checkmate is active." Reeves nodded grimly. "The Council has made its choice. Now they'll face the consequences." On the main display, the feed from the Council chamber showed aliens rising from their seats, some in anger, others in fear. The crystalline form of Nox Thalim seemed to dim slightly as the Arbiter processed the human response. "You cannot possibly believe you can wage war against the combined might of the Galactic Council," the Arbiter stated. "Your species has been spacefaring for barely a century." Admiral Voss smiled thinly. "That's the fundamental misunderstanding that brings us here today. You measure us by your standards, by your history. Humanity has spent its entire existence fighting, surviving, and evolving. War isn't just something we do. It's in our DNA." The holographic coordinates continued to spin above her palm. On cue, reports began flooding into the Council's information systems. "Confirmation of human presence at each of the 17 artifact sites." "Impossible," hissed Ambassador Drex. "Our surveillance networks would have detected your ships. Your networks only detect what they know to look for," Voss replied. "We've been studying your technology since first contact 60 years ago. Every weakness, every blind spot, every assumption your civilizations make, we've exploited them all." In the command center, Reeves turned to his chief scientist. "Activate the Nexus key." Across the galaxy, at a previously unremarkable asteroid in the Kuiper Belt, the most powerful of the Elder artifacts began to awaken after millions of years of dormancy. Energy readings spiked as human technicians, working with technology they'd reverse-engineered from fragments of Elder tech, brought the ancient machine online. In the council chamber, Voss felt her neural implant signal the activation. As we speak, the balance of power in this galaxy is changing. The sanctions you've proposed are based on a reality that no longer exists. High Arbiter. Nox Thalim's crystalline form pulsed with energy that might have been anger or fear. The council has stood for 50,000 years. Civilizations far more advanced than yours have tried to challenge us. All have failed. Perhaps, Voss acknowledged, but none of them were human. She turned to address the entire chamber, her voice carrying to every corner of the massive space. For centuries we wondered if we were alone in the universe. When you found us, we celebrated. We expected fellowship, exchange of knowledge, mutual respect. Instead, you treated us like children, dangerous children to be contained and controlled. The coordinates above her palm suddenly expanded into a complex three-dimensional map of the galaxy, with 17 pulsing points of light connected by lines of energy that had not existed moments before. The network is active, she announced. As of this moment, quantum communications and travel to and from the 17 critical council worlds are under human control. Your central planets are isolated. Your fleets are stranded. Your leadership is divided. She closed her fist and the hologram vanished. You declared sanctions against humanity. We declare war against a system that would deny us our rightful place among the stars. The next move is yours. With that, Admiral Voss turned her back on the council, a final insult no one had dared in millennia, and walked toward the exit. The chamber remained frozen in stunned silence as the doors closed behind her. In the Earth Command Center, Director Reeves watched as the feed cut out. And now, he said quietly, we see if our gamble pays off. Colonel Indira Kaur, head of Special Operations, approached his side. The council will retaliate. They have resources we can't match. They have resources they can't use, Reeves corrected. For the first time in 50,000 years, the mighty Galactic Council finds itself outmaneuvered. By the time they recover, the war will already be won. On screens around the room, feeds showed the Nexus Key's energy signature stabilizing. Humanity had just changed the rules of interstellar politics forever. The galaxy would never be the same. Director Marcus Reeves hunched over the holographic display in Earth's Deep Mountain Strategic Command Center. Representatives from every major Earth nation stood in tense silence as real-time feeds showed the unfolding chaos at 17 critical locations across the galaxy. Status report, Reeves demanded. Colonel Indira Kaur, head of Special Operations, stepped forward. Operation Checkmate proceeding as planned. All 17 artifact sites secured. The Nexus Key is under our full control. And the fleet? Admiral Zhang's weathered face appeared on the main screen. Phantoms 1 through 300 have revealed positions. Council forces are in disarray. They never saw us coming. A ripple of nervous triumph passed through the command center. What they were attempting had never been done in the recorded history of the galaxy, a species of primitives directly challenging the Galactic Council. The UE, Cassiopeian sovereignty, has deployed their 7th Armada towards Sol, warned Admiral Zhang. 4,000 warships at minimum, as expected, Reeves replied. Activate the Sol barrier. On screens around the room, feeds showed massive orbital platforms around Earth, Mars, and Jupiter activating simultaneously. Fields of shimmering energy began to envelop the entire solar system. Impossible, gasped the Centauri observer attached to Earth's government. Your species cannot possibly have harnessed barrier technology at this scale. Reeves turned to the alien. We've had 60 years since first contact to prepare for this day. Did you really think we'd spend it building only the ships you could detect? The Centauri's 4 eyes blinked rapidly in what humans had learned was a sign of extreme distress. The Council controls 200 civilizations, it warned. They will not stop until Earth is reduced to ash. That would require them to reach us first, said Colonel Core with a thin smile. And we've just changed the rules of how interstellar travel works. On the main display, the feed from Admiral Voss showed her boarding the diplomatic vessel that would take her away from Council headquarters. Armed Council security forces lined the docking bay, weapons ready but not firing. They knew that harming Earth's representative now would only validate humanity's aggressive stance. The Council doesn't understand yet, Reeves said quietly. This isn't just a war of weapons. It's a war of secrets. And humanity has been collecting them since we first learned the truth about our place in the galaxy. A technician called out from her station. Director, the Nexus key is fully operational. Elder technology responding to human interface at 100% efficiency. Begin Phase 2, ordered Reeves. Let's show the galaxy what happens when you corner a species that refuses to kneel. Across 17 points in the galaxy, human scientists activated Elder artifacts simultaneously. These weren't weapons in the conventional sense, they were something far more powerful. The Elders had mastered the fundamental forces of reality itself, and their technology could reshape the very fabric of space-time. In the Cassiopean fleet advancing toward Earth, Lord Commander Vextalon watched with growing concern as his navigation systems began to fail. "Report," he demanded. His science officer's appendages trembled. "My lord, quantum readings are impossible. It's as if the space between us and the Sol system is expanding." "Explain," Vextalon hissed. "The distance that was 50 light-years is now 500. No, 5,000. The readings keep changing. We cannot establish a reliable quantum corridor. The mighty Armada, pride of the Cassiopean sovereignty, found itself suddenly adrift in an ocean of stretched space, unable to advance or retreat through conventional means." Similar reports came in from Council forces across the galaxy. The human activation of the Elder network had fundamentally altered how space-time functioned around key strategic locations. Back in the Earth Command Center, Reeves received confirmation of the network's activation. "Phase 2 successful," he announced to the assembled leaders. "The Sol barrier is holding. Council forces are neutralized without a single shot fired. For now," cautioned Colonel Core. "But they'll adapt. They always do." "That's why we moved to Phase 3 immediately," Reeves replied. "Admiral Voss, are you secure?" The Admiral's face appeared on screen. She had reached her ship and was already departing Council space. "Secure and proceeding to rendezvous point. The Council is in emergency session. Their leadership is fracturing exactly as we predicted." "Excellent. The Nexus key data." "Downloading now," Voss replied. "Our scientists were right. The key contains the complete technical archives of the Elder civilization, everything from their history to their most advanced technology. And more importantly, it confirms what we suspected about human genetic lineage." A hush fell over the command center. This was the gamble that had driven their entire strategy, a theory so radical that even within the human leadership, many had doubted it. "It's confirmed?" Reeves asked quietly. "Beyond any doubt," Voss replied. "The genetic markers are unmistakable. We are their descendants, modified and hidden away on Earth during the collapse of their civilization. That's why the Council has kept us contained since discovery. They knew what we were, or at least what we might become." The revelation sent a wave of whispers through the command center. Humanity wasn't just another species in a galaxy of aliens. They were the heirs to the most powerful civilization the galaxy had ever known. "The political implications are enormous," said Secretary General Diaz, "Earth's highest political authority. If other species learn this truth, some already suspect it," Reeves noted. "That's why several second-tier Council races are already reaching out through back channels. They can sense the balance of power shifting." On another screen, Dr. Lyra Hamilton, lead scientist at the Nexus Key site, reported in. "Director, we've only begun to scratch the surface of what this technology can do. The Elder artifacts aren't just tools or weapons, they're keys to rewriting the fundamental laws of physics within defined spaces." "Can we hold what we've taken?" asked Secretary General Diaz. "The Council still outnumbers us by orders of magnitude." "Numbers mean nothing when your enemy can change the rules of reality," Colonel Core pointed out. The Elders didn't rely on fleets or armies. They controlled the fabric of space-time itself. "And now so do we," Reeves said. He turned to face the assembled leadership of Earth. "Make no mistake, this is the most dangerous moment in human history. We've revealed our hand. We've declared war on the most powerful political entity in the known galaxy. But we've also seized the one advantage they can't overcome." "Which is?" asked a general from the European coalition. Reeves smiled grimly. "They underestimated us. From the moment of first contact, the Council saw humans as primitive upstarts to be managed and contained. They never imagined we'd spend 60 years secretly preparing for this day." On the main display, feeds from across the galaxy showed the immediate effects of humanity's gambit. Council worlds in chaos. Alien fleets stranded by the sudden transformation of quantum space. Communication networks disrupted. And what about the resurgence protocol mentioned in the Nexus data? Asked Admiral Zhang from his fleet position. If the translations are correct, one step at a time, Reeves cautioned. For now, we focus on consolidating our position and preparing for the Council's response. They won't surrender easily, not after 50,000 years of unchallenged rule. As if on cue, an alert sounded. A technician called out, "Director!" Multiple quantum signatures detected at the edge of the Sol barrier. The Council has dispatched its Elder Guard. The Elder Guard, the Council's most elite force equipped with the limited Elder technology they had managed to reverse engineer over millennia. They were the only force in the galaxy that might have the capability to breach humanity's defenses. Right on schedule, Reeves noted calmly. Admiral Zhang, deploy the Phantom Fleet to intercept. Colonel Kor, activate our sleeper agents within the Guard. You planted agents within the Elder Guard? Gasped the Centauri observer. That would be impossible? Reeves finished for him. You're going to need to expand your definition of that word. He turned back to the main display. The real war begins now. May humanity prove worthy of its inheritance. Across the galaxy, the ancient power of the Elders, dormant for millions of years, awakened to the touch of their descendants. Humanity had declared war not just on the Council, but on the established order of the galaxy itself. And in the depths of the Nexus Key, secrets waited that would determine whether that war would end in triumph or extinction. Lord Commander Vextalon of the Cassiopeian sovereignty paced the bridge of his dreadnought, rage emanating from all four of his eyes. 3 weeks into what should have been a simple punitive action against Sol, and his mighty armada remained stranded in deep space, unable to establish quantum corridors to Earth. Explain again, he hissed at his science officer, how a primitive species has nullified technology we've mastered for 10 millennia. The science officer's appendages trembled. The humans, they've somehow reconfigured the quantum substrate using Elder artifacts. Conventional folding is impossible within 50 light-years of their system. And the Council? In chaos, my lord. 17 key worlds have gone silent. No communication, no quantum transit. The human admiral made good on her threat. They've somehow isolated critical council, worlds using the same technology. A holographic projection appeared above the command table, an incoming transmission from Galactic Council headquarters. The crystalline form of High Arbiter Nox Thalim materialized, noticeably dimmer than usual. Lord Commander, the Arbiter's voice resonated with unusual strain. You must divert your armada to the Proxima artifact. The humans have activated it and are using it to... The transmission dissolved into static. Vextalon turned to his communications officer. What happened? Unknown, sir. The quantum relay network itself appears to be changing. Alarms suddenly blared across the bridge. Outside the viewports, the stars themselves seemed to shift position. Impossible, whispered the navigation officer. We're moving, but our engines are offline. Moving where? Demanded Vextalon. Everywhere. Nowhere. The space-time coordinates no longer make sense. It's as if... The officer fell silent as a new image appeared on their screens. A human woman in a simple gray uniform stood in what appeared to be a control center built inside one of the Elder artifacts. This is Dr. Lyra Hamilton of Earth's Elder, Technology Division to the Cassiopeian Armada. Your vessels are currently caught in what we call a probability loop, a side effect of our recalibration of quantum mechanics in this sector. You are simultaneously in multiple locations across a 50 light-year radius. Vextalon's mandibles clicked in fury. Release us immediately. We will, Dr. Hamilton replied calmly, once the Council agrees to new terms. Until then, consider your mighty armada neutralized. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. My Lord O'Brien, the science officer, finally spoke. If they can manipulate quantum reality at this scale using Elder technology, then the sanctions were justified, Vextalon finished. These humans are too dangerous to be allowed such power. No, my lord, the science officer whispered. It means the sanctions came too late. At the Proxima artifact, a massive ring structure orbiting a red dwarf star just over 4 light-years from Earth, Dr. Hamilton ended the transmission to the Cassiopeian fleet and turned to her team. The control center hummed with energy as human technicians worked at consoles interfaced with technology, millions of years old. "Status of the probability field?" she asked. "Stable and expanding," reported her chief engineer. "The Cassiopeian armada is effectively neutralized without a single casualty. Their ships exist in a state of quantum superposition, physically present in multiple locations simultaneously. They can't coordinate or navigate." Hamilton nodded with satisfaction. "And the Nexus key connection?" "Data transfer at 97%. We're receiving technical specifications for elder technology that our scientists haven't even theorized yet. It's beyond revolutionary." A communication window opened on her main display. "Doctor?" Director Reeves's voice came through. "The Council has dispatched its Elder Guard to your location. They'll arrive within the hour." "As expected," Hamilton replied. "The Proxima defenses are ready. But there's something you need to know about the Nexus data. We've discovered references to something called the Resurgence Protocol." Reeves's expression grew serious. "Explain." "It appears to be the final contingency the Elders created before their disappearance, a means to restore their civilization should their descendants ever rediscover their heritage. The Nexus key isn't just a repository of knowledge, it's an activation mechanism." "Activation for what?" Hamilton hesitated. "Director, according to these records, the Elders didn't go extinct. They transformed. The Resurgence Protocol would trigger a similar transformation in those who carry their genetic markers." "In humans," Reeves said quietly. "Yes. The protocol would awaken dormant genetic sequences in our DNA, sequences the Elders engineered into our ancestors millions of years ago. We would become more than human." The implications hung heavy between them. This wasn't just about winning a war against the Council anymore. It was about the future of humanity itself. The Council must have suspected this, Reeves reasoned. That explains why they've kept us contained since discovery. They weren't afraid of our ships or our weapons. They were afraid of what we might become. "There's more," Hamilton added. "The transformation isn't limited to biological changes. The protocol would alter quantum reality throughout the galaxy to accommodate the return of Elder civilization. It would fundamentally reshape the political, physical, and biological landscape, with humanity at its center." "The ultimate weapon," Reeves murmured. "Or the ultimate evolution," Hamilton countered. "The question is, do we use it?" Before Reeves could answer, alarms sounded throughout the Proxima facility. "Elder Guard vessels detected," called out a security officer. "Multiple quantum signatures bypassing our standard barriers. They've adapted faster than expected," Hamilton noted with professional admiration. "Activate the secondary defenses." "Director, I need to focus on the incoming threat." "Understood. We'll continue this discussion later. Defend the artifact at all costs, Doctor." The communication window closed just as the first Elder Guard vessels appeared in normal space around the Proxima artifact. Unlike the bulky, organic-looking ships of most Council races, these were sleek crystalline structures that seemed to phase in and out of reality. The closest any current civilization had come to replicating Elder. "Technology, defensive systems online," reported Hamilton's security chief. "But their ships are partially out of phase with normal spacetime. Our conventional weapons may not be effective." "Then we don't use conventional weapons," Hamilton replied, interfacing directly with the artifact's control systems. "We use what the Elders left behind." Her fingers danced across controls that responded to her touch as if they had been designed specifically for human hands, because, she now realized, they had been. The Proxima artifact hummed with increasing power as ancient systems, dormant for millions of years, awakened to the commands of an Elder descendant. "Target the lead vessel," she ordered. "Let's show them what happens when you try to take Elder technology from its rightful inheritors." The massive ring structure began to rotate, aligning with the approaching Elder Guard fleet. Energy built within the ring, crackling with power that defied conventional physics. "What are you doing?" asked her chief engineer, eyes wide. "Testing a theory," Hamilton replied calmly. According to the Nexus data, Elder artifacts weren't just tools or weapons. They were extensions of the Elders themselves, designed to respond to their unique biological signatures. Signatures we share. The ring's rotation reached its peak velocity, and at Hamilton's command released a pulse of energy unlike anything humans had ever witnessed. It wasn't a beam or a blast, but a wave of pure quantum potential, a ripple in the fabric of reality itself. When it touched the lead Elder Guard vessel, the crystalline ship didn't explode or shatter. Instead, it simply stopped. Frozen in time and space, its quantum state locked into a single, unchanging configuration. "My God," whispered the security chief. "You've quantum locked them." "Not me," Hamilton corrected. "The artifact. And not just the ship, the crew as well. They exist now in a single moment of time, perfectly preserved but unable to act or think or move. They'll remain that way until we choose to release them." The remaining Elder Guard vessels scattered, retreating from the impossible weapon humanity had unleashed. It wasn't destruction, it was something far more terrifying. The power to control time itself. Hamilton opened a channel to all nearby Council vessels. "This is Dr. Lyra Hamilton of Earth. What you've just witnessed is a fraction of Elder Technology's true capability. We don't wish to use it against you, but we will if forced. Return to Council space and deliver this message. Humanity is prepared to negotiate new terms for our place in the galaxy. The era of sanctions and containment is over." As the remaining ships fled, Hamilton turned back to her team. "Prepare for Phase 4, and continue analyzing the resurgence protocol data. I want to understand exactly what it would mean for our species before we make any irreversible decisions." In the depths of the Nexus Key, ancient systems continued to awaken, responding to human touch after millions of years of dormancy. The question was no longer whether humanity could win this war, but what they would become in victory. And as the Council's forces retreated in disarray, a new reality dawned across the galaxy. The children of the Elders had returned. General Thomas Blackwood stood in the cavernous chamber of the Nexus Key, a massive pyramidal structure buried beneath the surface of what humans had once thought was a simple asteroid in the Kuiper Belt. Around him, scientists and military personnel worked at consoles interfaced with technology millions of years old. "Status report," he requested. Dr. Eleanor Wright, lead xenoarchaeologist, approached with a tablet displaying streams of alien script. "The translation is complete, General. We now understand why the Council was so desperate to keep humanity contained. Tell me." "According to these records, humans aren't just another intelligent species," she explained. "We're descendants of the Elders themselves, genetically modified and hidden away on Earth during the great collapse of their civilization." Blackwood's expression remained stoic, but his pulse quickened. "Can we verify this?" "The genetic markers are unmistakable," Wright confirmed. "And it explains why we alone can fully interface with their technology. The Council races can use Elder Tech, but we can command it. They've known this, or at least suspected it, since they first discovered Earth." "So the sanctions were never about territorial violations or unauthorized technology," Wright finished. "They were about preventing the return of the Elders in human form." The ancient chamber seemed to pulse with energy as more systems activated around them, responding to the presence of Elder DNA after millions of years of dormancy. What had begun as a desperate gambit against Council sanctions had evolved into something far more profound: the rediscovery of humanity's true heritage. "The Elders weren't just advanced," Wright continued, scrolling through the data. "They functionally controlled the laws of physics within their sphere of influence. They could manipulate matter, energy, space, and time as easily as we manipulate clay. And according to these records, they engineered those abilities into our DNA, designed to awaken under specific conditions." "The resurgence protocol," Blackwood said. "Yes. It appears to be their final legacy, a way to ensure their civilization would eventually return, even after their apparent extinction." A holographic communication window opened, showing Director Reeves from Earth Command. "General, we're receiving multiple diplomatic requests from second-tier Council races," Reeves reported. "The Arctarians, the Mendari Collective, even the Volox Imperium. They're offering to break with the Council and ally with humanity. They sense which way the wind is blowing," Blackwood observed. "There's more," Reeves continued. "Admiral Voss was approached privately by representatives of the ancient races, the founding members of the Council. They're requesting a summit. Not a surrender? No, but they're willing to negotiate. The terms would include full recognition of human sovereignty and the dissolution of the current Council structure." Blackwood studied the ancient symbols etched into the chamber. Walls, writings that had seemed impenetrable weeks ago but now read like his native tongue. A range. The summit, he decided. But there's something we need to understand first. He turned to Dr. Wright. These records mention the resurgence protocol extensively. What exactly happens if it's activated? Wright's expression grew grave. Based on our translations, it would trigger a cascade of changes throughout human DNA, awakening abilities and cognitive functions currently dormant. Humans would evolve almost instantly into something much closer to the original elders, and beyond the biological changes, the protocol would use the network of artifacts to restructure quantum reality throughout the galaxy, essentially rewriting the laws of physics to accommodate the return of elder civilization, with humanity as its center. Current spacefaring species would find their technology obsolete overnight. Some would adapt, others, she didn't need to finish. Billions of lives across thousands of worlds would be upended or worse. The ultimate weapon, Blackwood murmured. No wonder they feared us. The question now, Wright said, is whether we use it. Before Blackwood could respond, an alert sounded. A junior officer approached. General, we've detected unusual activity at the outer boundary of the Sol barrier. Something's trying to breach our defenses using technology we've never seen before. Show me. The main display shifted to show the barrier surrounding Earth's solar system, a shimmering field of energy that had thus far kept Council forces at bay. At one point, the barrier appeared to be folding inward, as if space itself were being bent. Magnify that section, Blackwood ordered. The display zoomed in to reveal a small vessel unlike any in the Council's known fleets. It wasn't attempting to break through the barrier by force, but seemed to be creating a localized distortion in reality itself, a method of transit that bypassed conventional defenses. That's not Council technology, Wright whispered. The design matches elder specifications in our database, but how general, called a technician. The vessel is transmitting on a frequency embedded in the Nexus key itself. It's addressing us directly. Put it through, Blackwood ordered. The display shifted to show the interior of the vessel. Inside stood a being unlike any alien humans had encountered. Tall and slender, with an almost human appearance, yet glowing with internal energy that seemed to bend the light around it. I am Kavex of the Elder Remnant, the being said in perfect English. We have monitored your activation of the network. The time has come for reunion. Stunned silence fell across the chamber. The Elders still exist? Blackwood finally asked. In a form, replied Kavex. When our civilization faced collapse, we divided our legacy. Most of us transcended physical form, entering a state of quantum consciousness beyond conventional reality. But we knew such existence was not sustainable without an anchor to the material world. So we created you, a branch of our species modified to thrive on Earth, carrying our essential genetic pattern in dormant form. You're saying humanity was engineered as, what, a backup plan? Blackwood asked, struggling to process this revelation. A continuation, corrected Kavex. The Council races that discovered your world recognized the pattern of our DNA in your species. They feared your potential, rightly so, but they misunderstood our intentions. The Resurgence Protocol was never designed as a weapon of conquest, but as a means of reunion and renewal. Dr. Wright stepped forward. Our translations indicate the protocol would fundamentally alter reality throughout the galaxy. Billions would suffer. Kavex's expression shifted to something like regret. Your translations are incomplete. The protocol has variable implementation parameters. It need not be destructive, though it can be if activated in its default state. You're saying we have a choice, Blackwood realized. You have always had a choice, Kavex replied. That was the purpose of separation. To allow your branch of our species to develop independently, to bring new perspectives to the reunion. The question now is, what kind of reunion do you seek? A new alert sounded. Director Reeves appeared on another display. General, Council forces are mobilizing across the galaxy. They've detected the Elder vessel breaching the Sol barrier and believe we're activating the full Resurgence Protocol. They're preparing a final assault on all 17 artifact sites simultaneously. How long do we have? Blackwood asked. Hours at most. They're throwing everything they have at us. A last desperate attempt to prevent what they believe is the end of their way of life. Blackwood turned back to Kavex. Your arrival has forced our hand. We need to make a decision about the resurgence protocol now. There is a third option, Kvex offered, one between full activation and rejection. Explain. A partial implementation, awakening human potential without restructuring galactic reality. Evolution without domination. It would give your species the tools to defend itself, while allowing the galaxy's civilizations to adapt gradually to the return of Elder influence. Dr. Wright studied the new data, streaming from the Elder vessel to their systems. It could work. A phased approach that demonstrates our power without destroying the current galactic order. And the Council? Blackwood asked. They have ruled through fear and control for 50,000 years, Kvex said. Perhaps it is time for a new paradigm. Blackwood opened a channel to Earth Command. Director Reeves, Admiral Voss, the situation has changed. We have a representative of the Elder Remnant offering an alternative to full protocol activation. Voss's face appeared, her expression a mixture of shock and calculation. The Ancients will want verification. This changes the terms of any potential summit. It changes everything, Reeves agreed. General, what do you recommend? Blackwood looked around the chamber, at the human scientists and soldiers who had mastered technology millions of years beyond their supposed development level, at the displays showing Council forces mobilizing for a desperate final assault, and at the Elder visitor whose arrival had changed the very nature of their struggle. We proceed with the summit, he decided, but from a position of choice, not desperation. We offer the galaxy a new beginning, not under Elder rule or Council control, but under a new accord where humanity stands as the bridge between past and future. As he spoke, the Nexus Key's systems pulsed with energy, as if the ancient structure itself approved of his decision. Throughout the chamber, human technicians found themselves working with increasing intuition, their minds connecting to the Elder technology on a level that hadn't been possible before. The neutral ground station hung in orbit around a dying star, a relic of an earlier galactic age predating even the Council itself. Within its ancient halls, the most momentous meeting in 50,000 years was about to take place. Admiral Ilara Voss led the human delegation down corridors of living metal that seemed to respond to their presence. Behind her walked General Blackwood, Dr. Hamilton, Dr. Wright, and Director Reeves, the architects of humanity's impossible victory. They entered the Grand Conclave, where representatives of the 7 ancient races waited. These were the true powers behind the Galactic Council, civilizations so old they had witnessed the fall of the Elders themselves. High Arbiter Nox Thalim floated forward, crystal body dimmed with what might have been humility or exhaustion. The human delegation is recognized, the Arbiter announced. We are prepared to discuss terms. Before we begin, Admiral Voss replied, we require acknowledgement of truth. You knew what we were from the beginning. You knew why Elder technology responded to us, and you sought to keep us contained rather than welcome us as equals. A murmur passed through the ancient representatives. Finally, the eldest among them, a being of pure thought encased in a containment field, moved forward. I am Zothavar of the First Emergence. It communicated directly into their minds. I was present when the decision was made to quarantine your world. Yes, we knew your genetic heritage. We knew the potential you carried. You feared us, General Blackwood stated. With reason, replied Zothavar. The Elders were not the benevolent precursors of myth. Their civilization collapsed not from external threat, but from internal catastrophe. They wielded power no sentient being should possess. The genetic modifications that created your species were their final act, an attempt to preserve their legacy in a form that might one day reclaim the galaxy. The human delegation exchanged glances. The resurgence protocol, Dr. Wright said quietly. Yes. Nox Thalim's crystalline form pulsed with agitation. If fully activated, it would transform all sentient life in the galaxy to serve the Elder paradigm. Trillions would die or be remade in their image. This is the legacy you now control. Admiral Voss stepped forward. We came prepared for deception or resistance. We did not expect confession. Because you do not yet understand the weight of your inheritance, said Zothavar. We did not sanction humanity out of fear alone, but out of hope that you might develop differently than your progenitors, that isolation might allow you to become something new rather than merely the return of something ancient and terrible. Silence fell across the chamber as the human delegation absorbed this revelation. Director Reeves finally spoke. What assurance do we have that this isn't another manipulation? None, admitted Noxthalim. But consider this. We could have destroyed Earth when we first discovered you before you developed spaceflight. We chose containment instead. As the ancient representatives and humans faced each other across the chamber, a new presence entered. Cavex of the Elder Remnant glided into the conclave, its luminous form drawing all eyes. The ancients speak truth, Cavex confirmed. Our civilization's fall was of our own making. In our quest to master reality, we lost sight of our responsibility to it. The division of our species, the creation of humanity as a separate branch, was meant to create inheritors who might learn from our failures. And yet you created the Resurgence Protocol, Dr. Hamilton pointed out, a mechanism to undo that very separation. Not to undo, but to complete, Cavex corrected. The protocol was designed with safeguards and variations, allowing our descendants to choose their path of reunion. The Council discovered only fragments of our technology and intentions, leading them to fear the worst. Zothavar's consciousness pulsed with what might have been skepticism. Your kind always spoke of choice while designing systems that allowed for none. Why should we believe this instance is different? Because humanity is different, Cavex replied. They have demonstrated this by choosing partial implementation of the protocol rather than full activation. Evolution without domination. The ancient representatives stirred at this revelation. Is this true? Noxthalim asked the human delegation. Admiral Voss nodded. We stand at a crossroads. We could use the Nexus key to force a new reality on the galaxy, one centered on human ascendancy. Or we can choose another path. She stepped to the center of the chamber, her figure small among the diverse forms of the galaxy's oldest civilizations, yet commanding in her presence. Humanity rejects the false choice between subjugation and annihilation. We will neither accept your sanctions nor implement the full Resurgence Protocol. Surprise registered among the ancients. Instead, Voss continued, we propose a third path. The dissolution of the current council and the formation of a new galactic accord, one where Earth stands as an equal founding member, where technology and knowledge are shared rather than hoarded, and where no species faces sanctions simply for the crime of its genetic heritage. And if we refuse? Asked Noxthalim. General Blackwood stepped forward. Then we continue the war we did not start, but have proven we can win. Dr. Hamilton activated a holographic display showing the current status of the galaxy. Council worlds isolated, fleets neutralized, communication networks under human control. You have seen but a fraction of what we can do, Blackwood continued. The partial protocol activation has already enhanced our capabilities. We don't wish to dominate the galaxy, but we will not be dominated. Zothavar's consciousness expanded, touching the minds of each being present. I sense truth in your words, humans, and something our kind often lacked, restraint. We've had a different history than the elders, Dr. Wright explained. Our path to the stars was longer, harder. We evolved on a world that forced us to cooperate to survive, and when we finally reached space, we did so not as conquerors but as explorers. Yet you declared war when faced with sanctions, Noxthalim pointed out. We declared war against a system that denied us equality, Voss corrected. There's a difference. Cavex moved to the center of the chamber, its form shimmering with internal light. The reunion of elder and human was always meant to be transformative for both. Perhaps the ancients too might find new perspectives in this transformation. What exactly are you proposing? Asked another ancient representative, a being of living crystal similar to Noxthalim but far older. Director Reeves stepped forward. A new galactic accord, with 3 founding groups. The ancient races, humanity, and representatives chosen by the current council member worlds. Equal voice, equal rights, equal responsibilities. No sanctions without unanimous agreement. No technological containment policies. Open exchange of knowledge with appropriate safeguards. And the elder technology? Asked Zothavar. Studied jointly, proposed Dr. Hamilton. With careful implementation of beneficial advances and containment of potentially dangerous applications. The partial protocol activation has already connected us more deeply to the elder network, added Dr. Wright, but we're still human, still shaped by our unique history and values. We don't seek to become the elders reborn, but something new, a bridge between what was and what could be. A long silence fell as the ancient representatives communicated among themselves in ways imperceptible to human senses. Finally, Zothavar's consciousness expanded once more. In 50,000 years of council rule, we have seen many civilizations rise and fall. We have watched species with great potential destroy themselves or be destroyed by others. Perhaps our approach has been flawed. It is time for change, agreed Nox Thalim, surprising the other ancients. The current system has become rigid, fearful. The humans have proven both their power and their restraint. This is unexpected. Then you accept our proposal? Asked Admiral Voss. Not yet, cautioned Zothavar. Such fundamental change cannot be decided in a single meeting. But we will begin the process. The sanctions against Earth are hereby lifted. A transitional council will be formed to design the new accord. And our control of the Elder Network? Asked General Blackwood. Maintained for now as a guarantee of good faith on all sides, Zothavar replied, but with joint oversight from the Transitional Council. Admiral Voss extended her hand in the universal gesture of peace. Let us begin again, not as jailers and prisoners, but as equals at last. Zothavar extended a tendril of pure thought toward Voss's outstretched hand. Perhaps we were wrong about your kind after all. Perhaps the Elders' final creation may yet be their redemption rather than their resurrection. As contact was made, the living metal of the station itself seemed to awaken, responding to the union of the galaxy's past and its future, a symbol of what might be possible when ancient power and young wisdom found common cause, the war that humanity declared would end not with destruction but with creation. Later, as the human delegation returned to their vessel, Director Reeves turned to Admiral Voss. Did we just change the course of galactic history? We did, she replied, and our real work is just beginning. General Blackwood gazed out at the stars, the same stars that had once seemed so distant and unreachable to humanity, and that now represented not just a frontier to explore but a community to join. When the Council declared sanctions, he mused, they thought they were containing a threat. Instead,